Dear colleagues, dear students, dear guests, our special session considers sustainability, trust, and quality assurance issues in EU-Russia university cooperation. Our focus of attention is the experience academics and administrators directly involved in internationalization activities. Therefore, by this conference and this special session, we are glad to share our experience and the results of our studies with you, as well as to ask your question and to answer your question in relation to the practical aspects of internationalization of higher education. And we are grateful to the Institute of Education and Higher School of Economics for the exciting opportunity to know more about the traditions of event management and for the participation in this conference. So let me introduce the speakers of our session in the order of their appearance. Our first presenter is Sirki Myakinin. She holds Doctor of Social Science degree and docent in political science. She is university lecturer in Russian and Eurasian studies. She is the head of the Express Master's School at Alexandria Institute at Faculty of Humanities within the University of Helsinki, Finland. In addition, Sirki has a significant experience in administration of international affairs. In double degree cooperation, Dr. Myakinin has been a convener of the master's program titled Cross-Border International Relations between Tampere University, Finland, with St. Petersburg State and Petrozavodsk State Universities in Russia in 25 to 2020. During this session, Sirki, who is virtually with us, introduces the Edu Neighbors project, which study higher education cooperation between EU and Finland, in particular with Russia, focusing on double degree programs. Sirki recorded her presentation at YouTube. Then Professor Dereglasova presents the result of study undertaken together with Dr. Myakinin and discusses how the academics in Russian universities perceive the opportunities to build the trust through academic cooperation with the European colleagues. She is Doctor of History and works at Tomsk State University as a professor at the Department of World Politics, Faculty of Historical and Political Sciences, and as a head of the Center of European Studies. In double degree cooperation, Professor Dereglasova earned her experience as a head of master's double degree program on EU studies organized by Tomsk State University, Russia, and Free University of Brussels, Belgium, in 2008 to 2018. Both programs of the colleagues have evolved, and we can discuss the ways of their evolution after our presentations. And my name is Svetlana Shendarova. I am Doctor of Economic Science and researcher affiliated with Tampere University, Finland. Previously, I have worked in 9 Russian universities as a docent in economics with experience in curricular design of international degrees, and as an administrator and in academic affairs and researcher and consultant in the Bologna reforms. For example, I built quality assurance system in St. Petersburg State University for several multinational degree programs, worked as a head of academic policy department. In addition, I have been a European expert, investigated all EU-Russian jointly developed degrees and prepared their catalog for the European delegation to Russia. I will discuss the controversies surrounding practices and internationalization policy goals. We would be glad to answer your question after our presentations. Now let's listen Sirki at YouTube.
Please, I would like to thank the organizers of the international group.
I'm sorry for the technical problems.
Dear colleagues, I would like to thank the organizers of the International Russian Higher Education Conference 2021 for the opportunity to come and introduce our project with the title Towards Good Neighborliness with Higher Education Cooperation, EduNeighbors, to this prestiged audience. My name is Sirke Mäkinen and I come from the University of Helsinki, Finland. Our project is funded by the Kone Foundation and it has been based at Tampere University since 2017. We have 6 researchers in our project. I am the principal investigator, and then there are 5 other researchers. One of whom is a PhD researcher. In addition, we have 2 partners. We come from different Finnish and Russian universities and have our background in international relations and/or higher education studies. The main focus of the study of our research project is to study how higher education cooperation may facilitate good relations between neighboring countries. In particular, we are looking at Finland and Russia. On a more general level, we want to examine the link between higher education and state-to-state relations or international politics, broadly speaking. We have both scientific goals, pedagogical goals, and practical administrative goals. Well, the scientific goal is to contribute to academic research in the fields of international relations and international education or higher education studies. The initial idea for our pedagogical goal was to create a kind of learning environments that are needed in collaborative degree programs and to develop curricular structures and teaching methods that would be suitable for double degree programs. As for our practical goals, well, we wanted to identify ways to develop cooperation in double degree programs. How then have we been able to meet our objectives? What have we done in our project? I would like to argue that we have succeeded in our scientific goal and have been able to publish peer-reviewed research on several different themes, namely the EU-Russia relations, in particular EU-Russia cooperation in the field of higher education and research. The second theme is Finnish-Russian cooperation in the field of higher education, and in particular we have focused on double degree collaboration. And the third theme is higher education and internationalization of higher education in Russia. And the fourth theme is teaching and pedagogics. Well, in addition to this, we, that is Svetlana, Dimitri, Gleb and I, have also gathered a very good database. We have interviewed internal stakeholders of double degrees, So we have interviewed those implementing Finnish-Russian double degrees, both administrators and academic staff, both in Finnish universities and in their Russian partner universities in 2017. And then we also had group interviews with graduates of these double degrees. In addition, we conducted a follow-up survey in 2020 of those whom we interviewed in 2017. And the publications regarding Finnish-Russian double degrees are partly based on this primary data. In addition, Dimitri and Lev have interviewed several stakeholders in cross-border cooperation projects this year. In addition to publications, and in order to meet the scientific goal, we have also organized an international seminar with the title Higher Education and International Cooperation in 2019. This took place at Tampere University in Finland. We have also organized other events keeping in mind our practical and pedagogical goals, such as the educators training workshop for double degree representatives from Finnish and Russian universities, as well as the Edunapers workshop on innovative learning and teaching, innovative learning environments and teaching methods. What I'm currently working on is a special issue for European Journal of Higher Education, where we look at internationalization of higher education and different practices and rationales of internal and external stakeholders for internationalization. This is partly based on the seminar that we organized in 2019. Well, then you may ask what we have learned. Well, we have learned a lot on all these things mentioned previously, and therefore I would suggest you to read our publications. And now listen to the two presentations in this session, one by Dr. Svetlana Shenderova, a researcher in our project, and another by Professor Larisa Derikazova, a partner in our project. What I may summarize here is that despite the strained relations between the EU and Russia, academic cooperation has continued, and it does so also between Finnish and Russian universities. There is a strong will on both sides to continue cooperation in this field regardless of the political problems. There is also belief that grassroots cooperation may somehow help in improving the relations between the upper level too. We have also found out that rationales for academic cooperation may vary between different levels of cooperation, that is supranational, national level, institutional level, and individual level. What we have also learned is that the practices and roles of different stakeholders in double degree planning and implementation are quite different in Finnish universities when compared to those of Russian universities. And that this is also the case when we look at internationalization of higher education as a whole. But please hear what Larisa and Svetlana have to say to learn more about these questions, and visit also our website. I would still like to show you the peer-reviewed publications thematically organized. Here first on EU-Russia cooperation in the field of higher education, and here on Finnish-Russian double degree cooperation, and finally here on higher education and internationalization of higher education in Russia, and also on teaching. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you will enjoy the next two presentations and the whole conference.
Dear guests, now you've listened to Sergey's speech about our Edunapers projects, and I should say that it was a great pleasure to participate in this project. We all hope that the research papers and book chapters published as a result of this project will be useful for you. What should I say for all participants? That we are recorded by Higher School of Economics as a host. And now I'm glad to give the floor to Larissa Dereglazova, who shares the results of her study with Dr. Sirkin. Larissa, please.
Thank you, Svetlana. Hello, everybody. So I wait for my presentation to be open. And I also would like to extend my gratitude for the opportunity to present the results of our study, and I hope for a good discussion afterwards. The title of my presentation, actually, this is a chapter, the title of a chapter that was just published in a Routledge handbook on EU-Russia relations, published July this year. And this chapter is co-authored by me and by Silke Makina, who just talked before. And the title is Building Trust Through Academic Cooperation, ? And this is what we present here. I present, but it's our joint research that it's actually somehow reflect academic debates on this issue. What is the result, what is the context, and what is the content of academic cooperation between EU university and Russian university. And here you see the details and the cover of this Routledge handbook, which has 40 chapters, and our chapter is number 26. Without any prejudice, I would say that you can look at the place academic cooperation have in this formal assessment of its importance. So, of course, on the first place, in cooperation of EU and Russia, we see issues of security and political, and only after some societal contacts and academic cooperation. But we still think that it's very important. We also, with my co-author and colleague, Silke Makina, we share the belief that academic cooperation has a long-term effect and concrete results that both EU and Russia stakeholders appreciate. I also put here reference to the article that we published in 2019 with Dr. Makina. It's also under question mark, still looking for partnership, where we study how EU and Russia cooperate in the field of higher education. This was a special issue of Journal of Contemporary and European Studies, and you have all the details. And if you would be interested in go through our presentation of our research and its analysis, so please follow the suggested link. So I will present very briefly, since the time given to me of 7-10 minutes, the main premise, research questions, debates, and conclusion for the chapter on academic cooperation. So the main premise of our study was that we assume that political and cultural rationales for international academic cooperation currently prevails over social and academic rationales in the EU and Russia, and that both sides use academic cooperation as a public diplomacy tool and as well as a source of soft power. And you can find many references to this, and you can find tracks of this indicated in official speeches and some official documents, but also in unofficial discourse. We also pose three research questions. The first, we We're interested if institutional level and individual level actors from the EU and Russia, they share the same political rationale that is present at supranational and national levels. We also were interested if actors of different levels in Russia and EU share the objectives and the interest in cooperations, or they somehow diverge. And the third, we were interested if economic and academic rationales of the EU and Russia are compatible. We went through academic debates, those publications that study rationales for academic cooperation since 90s till now, and we found several key debates, and we categorize them under the title Europeanization of the higher education in Russia, and how it's differently actually interpreted by the EU and Russia stakeholders. For Europeanization for the EU actors from the supranational level, but to an extent with national EU countries level, was seen as a democratization of higher education, meaning that the context is very important. So it was more about changing the academic culture at higher education and less about the focus on the content. While Russia was more concerned with approximation, which especially was evident in its approach toward moving in Bologna process. It's also a debate of how differently Russian and European actors, they focus on content, the knowledge, skills that it's within this cooperation, which was more important for Russian stakeholders, and the context. I mean, again, this academic culture, this values and principles, and administration also of higher education by European partners. Also, there was a big debate about that this academic cooperation between EU and Russian university are concerned modernization of higher education as a part of Bologna process, which is very evident actually for Russian higher education. But I also want to draw your attention to the publication of 3 years ago by Professor Judith Markham, Oxford University. She's retired, but she's a distinguished fellow at one of the college of Oxford University. And she has a big experience in working on joint European projects with Russian university, in particular in Siberian part. And she also worked as an expert for European Commission for evaluating this experience. So she published a book based on her field research, and she also checked how democratization within the Bologna process touched upon Germany and England and Wales in the United Kingdom. Another big debates concerning the academic cooperation between the EU and Russia university, it's a asymmetric nature of cooperation. So many actually researchers, they point out that there is a clear disparities on the funding, that EU mostly provided funds for academic cooperation, which was true in 90s and early 2000. And since 2006, Russia started to sponsor also European joint project within Tempus Stasis and then Erasmus Plus, because Russia was recognized as a country with a market economy, and then she, as a not developing country, would need to contribute. And this is actually, judging from our experience, designing, initiating, and implementing and reporting on this joint project, this creates certain issues as well and difficulties. So it was asymmetry in funding. Recently, Russia started to invest a lot of money within its strategy for internationalization of higher education and export of Russian higher education. But this is another issue to discuss, and I would not touch upon. I just will mention this. There is also a clear asymmetry in mobility flows. All the calculations show that it's more people from Russian universities have been and traveled to the EU countries than European partners traveled to Russia, especially this concern long-term travel for internship, research, etc. And it also was a clear disparity in responsibilities of the parties. Only since 2006, Russian university could be coordinator and also so-called contractors, fund holders for the European project. And since 2014, under some sanction regime, this possibility for Russian university to be these contract holders were limited only to Jean Monnet program. This is the only program with this Erasmus Plus cooperation which allows Russian universities to receive European funds directly. And this actually creates immense raises competitiveness and number of applications of Jean Monnet project from Russia growing like, I don't know, really very fast. So it also was already found out that negative impact of sanction on academic cooperation, because there is a restriction on certain issues. This is a restriction of placing findings from Europe to Russian academic to university and academic institutes. So this is and the issue of allowing certain mobility. So this is already happening. So concluding, what we found out is that definitely the EU and Russia has different rationales for supporting and developing academic cooperation between EU and Russia higher education institution. In the 90s, it was from Russia more economical rationale because Russia needs additional funds to modernize its higher education system, to bring more resources when the state resources were very scarce to the universities, and many universities just survive. And for the EU, political rationale was very important from the very beginning to now. Another this divergent rationales, it's also productivity versus positive result of cooperation. Both sides measure it very differently with indicator and focus. Another, it's also very clear this divergence in so-called short-term and long-term effect. And actually, in our research, we found out that those stakeholders from EU and Russia, they believe that academic cooperation provides and should be seen as a long-term project with a long-term results. And the most valuable is not only the change of the context of cooperation, but also it's a building trust as a solid base for continued education even in time of political crisis and very difficult relation between Russia and EU on official level. And as a trust also and this interest toward Europe, it was proposed in a phrase more Europe in Russia, meaning the more students and academic staff would like to participate in our joint academic project. And by doing this, more Europe people who are interested in the context, not only content of the organization of higher education, they bring this experience back and they want to reform and to change Russian higher education within. And we think this is probably the most important result which you can measure also, but it is important to keep that this has some future prospects. So I think I stop here and I'll be very grateful if you have questions and please to answer your inquiries. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa, for your interesting and insightful presentation. strongly recommend to read this chapter. Everyone who are interested in what the ordinary academics think about cooperation and what happens in their mind. So now I'm glad to share with you the results of my study in the framework of the Edu Neighbors project. So the topic is internationalization and policy assurance, practices versus policies. So Russian universities, the latest segment of the sector, have their KPI as a practical reflection of the policy goals. But we looked at this KPI by the eyes of ordinary academics, students, and graduates who have been involved in such particular internationalization activity as double degree cooperation of Finnish and Russian universities. In addition, in this presentation, I will share the results of my study in EU-Russia higher education cooperation policy, which has been published recently in the Brill Sense publishers as a book. And my previous research of EU-Russia cooperation implemented just before the political events in 2014. We have some students in the audience, and I'm glad to share with them the definitions which are used in our studies. This is the famous definition provided by Hans David Hunter and Robert Cohen. And they add the classic definition provided by Jane Knight 12 years before theirs, and I concentrated my study in reflection of this definition. I should say, before moving further, I should say that there are no single document in Russia which provides the definition of internationalization of higher education. Finland has such document, Russia has not. Russia has the May decrees of the president and a lot of documents provided by the control agencies. But there is no single document defined internationalization. The other definition which we used in our study is the definition of double degree. And the most important topic for my study is that the second part of this definition, that double degree equals two individual qualifications at equivalent level upon completion of the collaborative program requirements established by the two partner institutions. So my publications analyze how Russian and Finnish partners analyze and how they establish these requirements, and are there any requirements at all? Because there are some situations where there are no common requirements, but the lack of policy is also a kind of policy. So let's see how it works. So this is the result of our website survey. We took the websites of all Finnish universities. There were 38 Finnish universities found in the country at the website of the Ministry of Higher Education and Culture of Finland. So we found, it was a kind of surprise, because I was involved mainly in this website survey, so I was surprised to find only 5 universities in Finland which announced the double degree programs according with the definition which we used for our study. Then we used double check all websites of all Russian universities, provided that the website of Finnish universities as the partners have been checked too. So it was 45 websites of Russian universities. So if I did not see the confirmation or in Finnish or in Russian site, I excluded this program or this activity from further consideration. So you can see the data. You can see Lapinranta University of Technology is the biggest provider of double degree options, and of course it is caused by the geography of Lapinranta University. It is very close to Finnish-Russian border. It's half an hour from the border by taxi. Too many screens. So you can see a map where we have been. We've been in Rovaniemi, we've been in Tampere, in Joensuu, in Helsinki, and in Lapland. So it was an exciting travel along Finland, and the series of visits to the listed cities of Russia, and for those students who will have an enthusiasm to study Russian higher education further, I would strongly recommend to visit personally to the objects of your study and to hear people, to make an anthropological research. Be sure that you will know many interesting details, you will meet many interesting people and maybe know some more new words and opinions about the KPI and policy measures. So this is our statistics. This is the statistics of our semi-structured interviews. So we interviewed internal academic stakeholders listed here. We also asked to meet with us the vice rectors, but the vice rectors have been too busy. They were very enthusiastic to meet with the team sent by European delegation to Russia, but they were more close to the academics, ordinary academics, but academic heads, academic coordinators, administrators, they kindly agreed to communicate with us. And we have very different opinions about our study, about the issues which we asked them. But we are extremely grateful, all academics and all administrators who spent us an hour of their personal life. And then we invited them to Finland. We covered the expenses of all our participants to visit our events, to visit we provided them a training. So it was mutually benefited cooperation. And we interviewed 45 double degree graduates. We organized the event in St. Petersburg. The project also covered the expenses too. So when you will ask to participate, remember that it might be very beneficial because unfortunately those countries and those authorities who organize the internationalization as a policy, they very rarely interested by the opinion of people, and they really support the feedback. So the feedback is the very painful issue. So here you can see the first political goal. You know this goal: 5 universities in top 100 of the world university rankings. And you might know that in accordance with some documents, QS rating was indicated as the preferential ranking for Russian universities. And you can see the rationales of Finnish academics and administrators to participate, to communicate with Russian colleagues. And you can see the ranks of these Finnish universities. They are mostly far from top 300 or top 500, also recommended as the KPI. But the most strong reason to cooperate is the common area of study and practice. I could not say you the area of studies and the name of the program due to the anonymity issues, because we promised our respondents the anonymity, but the area of study is the main academic rationale, and the most strongest programs where people have been cooperated for a long time. They have been based on, they have started from common area of study and practice. Nobody thought about ranking. And this program, I should say, this program, they have been more vivid than those who have been established after 500 had started, and those programs who have been established for KPI only, they did not show the spirit to survive, unfortunately. And look at the list of Russian partners. First university is the Bauman Moscow State Technical University, and its division as Moscow State former Moscow State Forest University. So there is a list of Russian universities, and the aim of my comparison is to show that if the country or some university of the country have to request their partners the certain name, the certain positions in the ranking, let's look at the mirror. So this is the positions in the ranking in Russian partners, and all these positions also have not been important for Finnish partners, but Russian respondents indicated common area of study and practice, CBU funding. CBU is a cross-border university program funded by the Finnish government. And there were several administrators whom we asked, what is the reason to cooperate with this or that Finnish university? It's 500. So people could not be aware, certainly in the area of study, but 500. That was a kind of reflex. But the comparison of positions in rankings shows that the university who wants to have the strong partners should look at their position in rankings, their own position in rankings. So, double degree is a byproduct of domestic degree. And this circumstance, this byproduct institutional nature does not take into account in the government documents, because double degree cooperation is a very, very comprehensive, mature international activity. No one can just go and establish double degree just for even being funded from several different programs, because it's not a question of paper. Each university administrator or experienced academic can take each figure. Give me a figure, the number of student mobility. Give me a name of a person who traveled abroad or who visited. I provide you a lot of indicators. I provide you a lot of indicators. These indicators, KPI, which are prescribed for me, I implement them, I report about them, but it does not mean that these activities will be implemented in reality because of this institutional nature of double degree. Double degree is a kind of a bastard of cooperation because the main product is domestic degree, and if double degree requests more efforts, it means that double degree will die because the university should concentrate the efforts only on domestic degree. So transaction costs increase, program close. This is the law. Quality assurance. It turned out everyone knows what happens in the in the vast majority of Russian universities. There are no formal quality assurance procedures. Yes, our Russian universities report a lot about implementation of quality assurance system. ISO 2000, ISO 2009, and this or that quality assurance, public professional accreditation, state accreditation. But it turned out when Russian students arrive from abroad, no one asked them, hey guys, how did you study? What happened? No one is interested. I mean the formally. Of course, the students go to the academic head, and the academic head, they ask them, how did you study, what happened, what was in your course? But it's just a tool. It is not formalized. It is not enough. There are no feedback, and there are no formal questionnaire surveys. Of course, some Russian universities started implemented the student surveys recently because the state accreditation procedures started requesting this procedure, but that was just a procedure. They haven't been asked about their experience abroad. And in accordance with the law, recently the law had been changed, but there were no official internships at the enterprises for foreign students because of the migration law constraints. Because students were forbidden to work in Russia, in the international students, and if someone wanted to work, he or she should be deported immediately. Of course, Russian universities found the opportunities to organize the visits of students to the enterprises. But the problem is that it's not systematic. And state accreditation procedures is a painful issue. Volume of documentation are not relevant to international approaches. I also was responsible for state accreditation procedures and for gathering the data and for analysis of statistics. And I'm I can maintain that the statistics and KPI of the statistics and the point of the statistics, they are not relevant even to cycle degree systems. And I published a chapter. If you are interested, please send your message to me and I send you the list of my publication where these issues have been considered in detail. And how the modules in Finland have been implemented as elective courses and as 1+1. I should say that we have concentrated on the master's degree programs only. So what happened in Finland in quality assurance? Finnish universities formalized their procedures of internal quality assurance by questionnaires and surveys of students' opinion. Thesis, as a rule, was a result of internship at the enterprises. External quality assurance procedures have been interesting. When they accredited when Finnish universities accredited their programs in the foreign accreditation agencies, they did not accredit them as double degree. They had the experience to accredit double degree with Sweden, with Germany, with some other countries. It is also painful issues for the universities abroad, but there were no found. We could not find any Russian double degree programs with Russian partners, which could be accredited as a double degree by the International Accreditation Agency. And curricular design in Russia modules in the vast majorities of spaces have been the mobility options, and they were implemented as 1+1, so 1 year in Finland, 1 year in Russia, and by the seasonal schools. And there was one case when the students had been dropped out on the period of mobility. And when I asked my respondent, why did you do it? Because if a man is dropped out, it's obviously that he immediately could be stopped in the airport and no, he's an army now. He's an army now. Russian men students still serve in the army, but they are not students anymore. But this respondent told me, yes, I dropped them because they do not study at our universities at the period of mobility. So the real city, and it was not the region. And this is the main challenge of Finnish-Russian cooperation, the reporting of government programs. The reporting on each government programs which support internationalization presents a major challenge by itself. Most vivid programs are based on academic cooperations, not on KPI, not on ranking positions. Collaborative degree are a continuation of research cooperation. And the programs which have been implemented for the longest periods, these programs have been based and have been continued on the fundament of the research cooperation. And each program, which includes just the mobility, which is established just to implement the KPI, these programs were not very good because the academics were not interested to cooperate. They were interested only in the students visited this or that country. And you can see on the screen the opinion of the program head. The double degree cooperation with Russian university It's not for everybody. You should have the nerves like a cow. It's kind of a Finnish proverbs. And when I heard this phrase, I thought, why cow? Poor cow. What should I say further? It is the recommendation for you, if you are interested in our study, please visit our website, send us the messages, and we will be glad to share with you the published results of our study. What should I say before we go to the Q&A session is that I understand that we are all speaking Russian, but my goal to organize this session is English, is to hear how it is sound for international partners. How could we explain, if any, what happens in Russian and Finnish international cooperation. So please send me your answers by chat or orally. I would be glad, and Larissa would be glad to answer your questions related to. Yes, please. Show the screen.
May I ask first?
Yes,
question?
please. And when you will ask us, please represent yourself, introduce yourself,
Okay.
because we would like to answer in accordance with your views.
Okay. My name is Stepan Bykov. I am the head of International Affairs Department of Irkutsk National Research Technical University, Irkutsk. I would like to ask Larissa about her research. She mentioned in the very end that to some degree it can be measured. There were a phrase, it can be measured. I mean, it sounded like relationship or change in relationship could be measured. Could you please extend or explain how did you try and how it was made, how it was done?
Okay, so let me clarify a little bit of your question, because I talked about different things, about Europeanization, as democratization, approximation, it's one thing. So there is indicators, for example, because if we talk about Europeanization of higher education, and Russia prefers the approach of approximation, meaning the standards, the organizational structure, the formal arrangement would be very close to European, so approximation. So Bologna process is about this. And Russia actually, as you know, it's completed all the requirements, formal requirements for the Bologna process, and Russia is a full member of the European higher education area since 2010. So we now talk not about not Bologna process, but about European higher education area. And this allows, we have bachelor and master degree, we have a PhD, they will have no formal restriction or additional requirements for our students to apply and to study at European university after bachelor degree. And for European university, absolutely the same. And if you look at the last European higher education area report, which is 2018, still looking for the next one to come, there is a measurement of the academic exchange between European countries and Russia. And Russia is was the most populous country by inflow and outflow of students. So this is indicators and measurement of this. For example, if you are talking what it was as content or text.
No. Yeah, I will clarify my question. You know, the hypothesis, I mean, the question was in the very beginning about, as far as I understood it, the impact which academic cooperation has on relationships between European countries and Russia. So we are trying to identify if there is an impact for the relations. So my question was about whether you try to measure the impact of this academic cooperation on between countries' relations. Yeah.
Okay, so the EU is not a country.
Oh,
It's
I know,
already
country.
it's now 27 countries. It's the most popular for international academic mobility country, UK. And actually, if we measure, so I think that these formal indicators in number of inflow and outflow mobility, it's an indicator, absolutely. Because first it showed visibility, it showed the interest, and it showed what Svetlana said, how many people go and to seek degree, and how many people also came to Russia to study. I'm from Tomsk State University, and we have mostly non-degree students coming to us from here, but from other countries, many coming for the degree. And we have, as Svetlana introduced, we had for 10 years, we have a double master degree between Free University of Brussels and Tomsk State University, and we had all the problems that Svetlana talked about. So for 10 years, we have 11 graduates from Tomsk, none with a degree, with 2 diplomas, national diplomas from Belgium. Some showed mobility, but not. So now we have a non-degree mobility. So this is one measurement. Another is that you can also measure how many people from Russian university applying for European projects. So Janana, it's a very good indicator. So it's like a stockpiling. After 2014, I can give you a number that in 2011, the application for Janana project was about like a 10, 12. Now it's hundreds. Technical university, like physicals and so on, not
only
humanities.
humanities.
And if you know Janana program, it's about teaching about European integration, nothing else, European integration. And so many interested now stakeholders in Russia, they want this. So this is a high demand for this European funds, for the academic mobility from Russia. It's not declining. So this is one thing also. So what other indicator we use, we also try to measure funds. It's very tricky. Very tricky with the statistic. If you ever look here, so you know Eurostat is probably the most unfriendly database that I ever approach. I use it, but it's very difficult. European Union has its own system, Eurostat. It's very good, but it does not cover exactly this thing. And European higher education area, it's also more than just 27+1. It's different, so it's very difficult to get all the relevant information. But we do it. We can do it in a number of projects, number of contacts, funds, how many students you want to work with, they vote. And if you look for the, I think it was the biggest increase in interest of Russian young people to go to West to study and to live in 2018. It was 53%. So this is also somehow.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Stefan, for the question. Dear colleagues in Zoom, who would like to ask us? Dear students, any questions? So I have a question for Larissa in relation to statistics. When I analyzed the flows of mobility based on the UNESCO websites and database, I found that the outgoing mobility from Russia is much more higher than incoming mobility. The project of Finnish Russian, of studying Finnish Russian double degree also showed that the outgoing mobility from Russia prevails. In addition, some students from the third countries would be interested to participate both from Finnish and Russian side. So, what can you say? My first question is, what can you say about the share the proportion of incoming and outgoing mobility in the recent trends, because you are the specialist in the EU statistics. So what data do you have? And my second question is related to the definition of international mobility at all. For example, you might hear that KPIs for Russian leading universities divide mobility less than 3 months, maybe correct,
Yeah.
less than 3 months, more than 3 months, 1 semester, 1 year. But when a student goes abroad, and then he or she becomes a student of foreign university, the country, the host country, also consider him as an international student. But so on the one hand, he is a student of the host university, he is a student of Finnish university, for example. On the other hand, he is international. The student provided the data for international mobility, which is also important for Finland. So my question is, do you see the problem in this statistics? Who is the international mobility student and stuff? How they are counted?
First of all, I should say that I'm not a specialist on statistics. I'm a historian by training, and just doing international relations. I was all my publication now as a political science title. But I do like to work with statistics when it serves my purpose or I need some. But I would say that it's very, very difficult. And when we try to evaluate academic cooperation in terms of statistics, it's very difficult. Sometimes we find controversial because it seems that it's a double counting. Different sources in Russia, to work with Russian statistics, I'm so sorry, it's so difficult. In 2006, me and my colleague from Tomsk State University, Irina Yurievna, sorry, when you speak the language, it's Grataeva, she's physics, and we were part of the project of International Cooperation Center providing information in terms of this thesis project, and we went through so many data about cooperation of Siberian universities. So we published actually an article about this academic mobility and factors of this academic mobility in a journal of High School of Economics, a journal of International Organization. It was published, but we also fought with the statistic, and what we did to that, we communicated with international relations offices or international programs offices of several big universities in Siberia, with 3 in Tomsk and 1 in Novosibirsk, and we asked their internal statistics, how they calculated, because they are more precise, how many students went with a short mobility, long mobility, because this possible to fix, because it's Komandirovka or whatever business, so it's fixed. And we also checked the publication of Ministry of Science and Higher Education, and I would say it was a very depressing difference. So I would say that statistics in Russia, it's how I should put it. The economist.
There's a line, there's a decline, and there's statistics.
I would say it's so tricky, and as a historian, one of the principles in historians, you never trust the first period figure. You're always very critical of the source of information. You compare, so I do it still it's very difficult. So I would be very accurate with this justification of but with a number still, we have to come out with some general trends, not to base on our personal experience. So, but this is a tricky thing. And about Svetlana, you asked about what is the definition of the academic mobility, international mobility. This is OI, yes, this is big OI, because is especially when university need to report about growing internationalization of the university, so the mobility is going to start who are not academics. I'm sorry to say, it's keepers, the keepers going to the conference on physics, etc., just anecdotal things. But they are staff, right? So they're staff. So administrative mobility quite often substitute for real academic mobility. This is a problem. And actually, to give a good number to look nice in internationalization, so there is could be very short-term mobility or mobility when students pay for their own mobility is calculated there, and the university directly is not involved in finding this opportunity. So I would think that it's a really big problem with calculation, with relevance of the data, and with this different stakeholder interests, not about increasing internationalization and the quality of mobility, but on reporting of quantity of mobility to get revenue. So I think it's another big cut. So I don't know if probably my answer is right, depressing, but it's what I found out.
Thank you, Larissa. And I should say that I tried to analyze Finnish statistics as well, and I did not find the certain answer who are the international mobile students for Finnish universities. And I would say that that Finland has the Finnish universities also are pressured or stimulated to increase the international mobility. The Finnish state uses the other instruments, so but the funding depends on the number of international mobile students, and we have when Russian universities have the figure of the different figures for international students and for domestic students as well. You might hear about quota for international students. Finnish universities, they do not have more special quota for international students. They have the one figure. So that's why, and one funding. And since 2017, Finnish universities, Finland introduced the tuition fee. So it was a challenge for Finnish universities, but many of them still uses the schemes which allows students not to pay for education, not to pay tuition fee like 10,000 euros, something like that. That's why Finnish universities are interested to invite international students, and there were the situation where, which we found when this is, I would say this is another rule, when domestic university in Russia is not interested to keep the students join master's degree program, then they go Finland, and then they drop out from domestic Russian universities and go Finland, choosing Finnish university as their host university as well. Just because the documents and the documents volume requested to study in double degree is high, and the enthusiasm of people who are responsible for their sending abroad is not so high. But on the other hand, we revealed the very interesting issues related to the division of responsibilities between administrative staff in Finnish universities and between the academic staff. And for example, in Russia, one colleague told, I'm responsible for everything. So can you imagine, doctor of science, head of the department, he is responsible for renting the hotel, for visa, for renting the bus, for all documents.
That's how you know.
He was a hero, and he wasn't the only person. But in Finland, they have a very strict division between academics and between administrators. And administrators, they are academics. They are never involved in technical and documentation issues. They just have to go to the audience and share his or her materials. But on the other hand, when you have one partner who is responsible for everything, it's very convenient for international partner because he just took a phone and each problem, as the international researchers think, that each problem can be solved, but nobody counts the transaction costs and nerves which have to spend just to solve the elementary problem. And we revealed 2 universities in Russia who hired additional people, not related to the program by itself, to its content or to its administration. They have been responsible just to transfer the papers from one department to another, just for the agreements. So can you imagine how ineffective some universities spend the funds of government programs? Because they just are not, it is not the problem of national law. This is the problem of certain management in the certain university. And the main problem between the division is the strict division between international department, research department, and academic department.
And there is very big link between this department with the university.
I would say there are very high walls between these departments, and as I wrote in one of my paper, academics and students sometimes play the role of civilian population who are between these different groups of people. And sometimes the conflicts, and I also have my own experience in such situation, how to agree something in academic department and in international department, and then again to go to the rector to agree. And sometimes I felt like a hero of the movie about the civil war. So because the power has changed, the head of the department has changed, and everything has changed immediately. So we have 8 minutes, so please, if you have the questions, we would be happy to answer.
Okay.
You can ask about anything.
Okay, 2 questions. The first question is,
Be close to the mic, please.
can I sit? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The first question is about universities. The first university. Okay.
Please read loud.
Okay. The University of the Tampere. Yes, University
Tampere
Tampere University. Yes, I for the first time I got acquainted with this university when I checked Erasmus degree programs. If I'm not mistaken, University of Tampere is a member of Erasmus program, which includes 4 countries
Yes,
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 it's
yes,
included,
yes.
yes.
There is
In
a
higher
program.
education program.
Hi, Mariche.
Mariche, yes, Mariche. Yes, it's my dream, but it's really high competitive, and that's why. But I will try it, of course. I see a lot of information about University of Tampere and Tampere, sorry, and I know this is one of the best and leading university in Finland. But in ranking university now I have seen that Aalto University is the top of 300 universities in QS. Yes.
It was the data for 2017.
In current situation, and now what happens in 2000?
Top universities.
You can visit the websites of the QS or there, or Times Higher Education, and check the certain position. But what should I say? Is it all your question? All of your questions?
No, yeah, yes. I mean, Aalto University. I have never heard about this university. Never heard. But now, okay. But in currently, Aalto University is higher, or it's below. In comparison with University of Tampere.
How it's connected with your desire to start?
But yeah, but because I would like to go in February, I would like to apply in Finland because I study pedagogical science, and I would like, and Finland is one of the best countries in education, and that's why I'm interested in universities, and that's why maybe that's interesting because I have never heard about Aalto University, but in rankings, of course, the information is of 2017, but in currently, which is the check,
please.
But why it is important for you?
It's a
but how would you choose the best university? I mean, in Finland, in rankings shows us that okay, but which situation currently? Okay, I will see. I will check. But in Tampere University of Tampere, yeah, Tampere is now is a higher.
So thank you, Ibrahim, for your question. And what should I say? That it is that Finland is not so interested in promoting and ranking. It is not important for Finnish universities. The main goal is to invite international students, high qualified international students, and when you will write your motivation letter, it would not be an argument for the program committee. I know people from here, and I certainly could say you that it will not be important for them that you are motivated by their positions.
Yeah, I'm not motivated by a position, but it's a little bit interesting. Just it's okay. But okay.
Okay, thank you. Please unmute Saule Anafinova. Unmute Saule. Евгений, нам бы человечка размьють. Saule, can you hear us?
Да, сейчас попрошу ее.
Saule, we can't hear you. We see your hand raised. Saule. Saule, we can't hear you.
То, что не можешь включить звук.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? 3 minutes. So, dear colleagues, please look at the chat, and I print there my email. Please send your message to me if you are interested in our publications. And Larissa also shared her contacts. And please Google Edu Neighbors Finnish University provided us a website, and this was another example of how the work of international researchers was organized. I just was asked, please provide a paragraph about your project to this website. So I did not send the report to the rector as I did it previously in my previous job. Please provide me the website, please recommend me the technical person. I was just provide the website, and the principal investigator of our project, Sirki, she kindly uploaded it, and it was easy for her because she was specially trained. So to conclude this session, I should say a big thank you for all who provided the technical issues of our session, for all students of Higher School of Economics who visited, for Stepan from Irkutsk who visited us and was so active in taking into account the time differences. Big thank you for all participants who joined us in Zoom. And I should say that this project will end at the end of this year. It will be the big challenge for each of us to find new cooperation, but the experience was extremely valuable. And we are glad to continue to share the results of our study and practice. And what should I say for final is the phrase, is the idea to respect each other. Do not prey on KPI. KPI, there was a phrase in the last film of James Bond. This 007 is just figures. KPI. Adjusted figures, KPIs, adjusted figures. But when you see in person or even in Zoom an international colleague or an international student or an international coordinator, administrator, or domestic colleague, this is the person, a human being. Respect them much more than figures, and you will be happy. And you will see the results, and you might be surprised by the results. I recently published a book with the people from England, China, Brazil, and Canada, and that was amazing to meet them. And I hope that COVID will end soon, and COVID does not take us, and we will meet again. And share our experience further. So thank you very much.